Hey everyone, in this video we'll look at how to equip and unequip weapons in FS melee combat system. So let's start by setting up the weapon. So here I have a demo scene with a player and an enemy, and right now they're just using a weapon with hand-to-hand combat. So let's set up a weapon like sword for them. So to set up a sword, I'll create a new weapon called demo sword. Alright, let me also change its name to demo sword. And I'll also attach a model of a sword into the model prefab field. So this is a simple model of a sword that I have. And to the sword prefab, we have to attach a script called melee weapon object. And here in the item data field, we have to assign the demo sword that we created. All right. So next let's set up a few attacks for this sword. So here I have two attacks called /1 and /2. So we can combine them to create a combo. I've already covered how to create attacks and all that in the main tutorial for the melee combat system. So in this video, we'll really focus on creating the weapon. So here, let me just create an attack combo with /1 and /2 attacks. And by the way, we can also give an override controller that overrides the idle and movement animations when a sword is equipped. Alright, so now we can go ahead and assign this weapon to our player. So I'll go ahead and assign it to the default weapon field of the melee fighter. So yeah, you can see that the sword model is spawned onto the player's hand. We need to adjust the position of the sword, but it is spawning to the player's hand. So we can go to the scene view and adjust the position and rotation of the sword so that it seems like the player is holding it. So it's kind of hard to adjust it when the player's hand is moving like this. So I'll just go back out of the combat mode and then I'll adjust the rotation and position of the sword. Alright, so you have to look at the sword from different angles and make sure that the sword fits into the player's hand. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because I already know the position that works for this sword model. So once you finalize the position, you can just copy it and paste it onto the right hand transform of your demo sword. Alright, so since I already know the position and rotation, I'll just fill them in. So after setting the spawn position correctly, you can see that the sword is being spawned properly on the player's hand. So by the way, we can also set this sword as the weapon of the enemy, and the enemy should also have this sword equipped properly. Alright, so that is working fine. So next let's look at how to equip and unequip the sword. So I want to implement it so that the player will be unarmed by default, but the sword will be attached to the player's back, and the player will be able to equip the sword by pressing a button. So to attach weapon on back of a character, we can turn on this attach on body checkbox. Alright, and then just like we did for the right hand transform, we have to set a position and rotation that defines where the weapon should be spawned. So what I'll do is I'll try attaching the sword model to the back of the player to find out the position and rotation that works for it. So I'll find the chest bone of the player and I'll attach the sword to it. And I'll adjust its position so that it looks like the sword is attached to the back of the player. So once we find a good position and rotation, we can just copy that to the model transform of our weapon. So next we can add an equip and unequip animation for the sword. So here I'll assign an animation clip for equip, and we can also set the item enable time, which is the time at which the item will be attached to the hand of the player. Alright, and next we can also assign an unequip clip. So here I'll just use the same clip for equip and unequip. If you have different clips, you can go ahead and use that. So next in the item attacher script, we have to assign the holder game object that will hold a weapon. So in our case, the weapon is attached to the chest bone, right? So I'll assign the chest bone, and now we can just delete the sword game object, and we'll be attaching it dynamically. So if you're using the FS inventory system, then the weapons will be automatically attached to the item attacher component when you equip them from the inventory. But in this tutorial, I want to show you how you can attach the weapon even if you don't have the inventory system. I've already made a video that shows how to switch weapons using the inventory system. So you can go ahead and watch that if you want to switch weapons from the inventory. But for this tutorial, let's say we don't want to use the inventory and switch weapons. Instead, the player will only have a single weapon attached to his body by default. So to achieve that, we can just create a test script that will attach a sword to the item attacher component of the player. So in this script, first I'll create a public variable for the weapon that we want to attach. And then from the start function, I'll get the item attacher component and I'll attach the weapon to it by calling the attach function. So now back in Unity, I'll set the player's default weapon as unarmed, and I'll attach the sword to the back of the player by adding the test weapon attacher script. Okay, so here for the weapon, I'll assign our demo sword. And by the way, in the equipment configuration, I forgot to turn off is skin mesh. So we have to turn that off before testing the game. Alright, so now we can see that when the game starts, the sword is attached to the back of the player, but the sword is not actually equipped. The player is unarmed. But now if I press the 1 key on the keyboard, the player will equip the sword. We can also unequip the sword by pressing the 1 key again. Alright, so this is how we equip and unequip weapon from the melee combat system. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next tutorial.